Today we're going to talk about a single concept that connects almost everything, from the cells in your body to the very future of artificial intelligence. It's a fundamental principle that might just be the key to getting AI to stop guessing and finally start knowing.
So let me kick things off with a question for you. What on earth could a living cell and a truly intelligent, completely traceable AI possibly have in common? I mean, they seem worlds apart, right? But the answer is actually incredibly elegant, and it all comes down to design.
And that answer is something called the holon. The term was coined way back in 1967 by an author named Arthur Koestler. And a holon is an entity that pulls off this amazing paradox. It is a complete, self-contained whole, and at the exact same time, it is a dependent part of something much, much bigger. Koestler saw this pattern everywhere in the natural world, and now, finally, we're seeing it take shape inside a computer.
All right, so to really get how this works, we need to dig into this universal blueprint. It all starts with the two competing forces that every single holon has to constantly balance.
Koestler had a great name for this, the Janus phenomenon, named after the two-faced Roman god. See, every holon is being pulled in two directions at once. On one hand, it has this self-assertive drive to protect itself, to maintain its own identity. Think of a cell protecting its outer wall. But on the other hand, it has an integrative drive to be a part of the team, to function within a larger system, like that same cell working with other cells to form a tissue. It's this constant, powerful tension that makes the whole thing work.
And here's the cool part. When you link these holons together, you don't just get a simple chain. You get what's called a holarchy. The best way to picture it is like a set of Russian nesting dolls. Each doll is a complete finished whole on its own, right? But it's also designed perfectly to be a part that fits inside the next biggest doll. It's systems nested within systems nested within systems.
Now, to understand just how powerful this way of building is, we have to talk about Herbert Simon's famous parable of the two watchmakers. This story nails exactly why this holonic design is so essential for building anything complex that actually lasts.
So Simon imagined two watchmakers, Makos and Bios. Both are building a watch with 1,000 tiny parts. Makos does it the linear way, part 1, then part 2, part 3, and so on. But the phone rings, he gets interrupted, and the whole thing falls to pieces. He has to start over from scratch every single time. It's a totally fragile system. Bios, on the other hand, he builds his watch with holons. He first puts 10 parts together into a stable little module. Then he puts 10 of those modules together into a bigger one. If he gets interrupted, only the small module he's currently working on falls apart. He never ever has to go back to square one.
And the result of this? It's not just a little better, it's absolutely staggering. Simon did the math, and Bios, the holon builder, finished his watch 4,000 times faster than Makos. That's not a small improvement. It is mathematical proof that complex things evolved way, way faster when they're built from stable intermediate parts.
So the takeaway here is crystal clear. If you want to build something complex, stable, and fast, you have to use these composable subholes. Any other approach is just too brittle to survive. Evolution figured this out a long time ago, and as we're about to see, AI is finally getting the memo.
Okay, so if this pattern is so fundamental, so obviously better, why have AI systems struggled for decades to actually use it? What was the big roadblock that kept our computers from figuring this out?
Well, the problem was baked in from the very beginning. As Dr. Nicholas Figge puts it, the very systems we built to understand the world were forced to flatten reality. They were designed to create these simple, flat diagrams of how things are connected, but they completely missed the nested, recursive way the world actually works. They captured a stick figure, but missed the living, breathing person.
The technical culprit has a name, description logic. And to make sure its algorithms would always finish, it enforced one critical rule. An entity could be an individual, like a single person, or it could be a set that contains things, like a family. But it could never, under any circumstances, be both at the same time. And that single rule made the holon, the thing that is defined by being both, completely impossible to represent.
And that brings us to the big breakthrough, a new kind of semantic atom built from the ground up to break that old rule. It's called the Tokum. The best way to think of it is as a semantic Lego brick. It's the first computational unit in history that is designed, by its very nature, to be both a whole concept and a container for other concepts all at once. It's the holon, finally made real in code.
So the invention of the Tokum isn't just an upgrade. It allows for a massive paradigm shift for artificial intelligence,
a move away from the incredibly sophisticated art of statistical guessing and toward the boring, verifiable certainty of actually knowing something. And here's the difference in a nutshell. The generative AI we have now, it's a guesser. It uses mind-boggling statistics to generate an answer that seems plausible, but it comes out of a black box, and you can't really verify it. Holonic AI, built with Tokums, is a knower. It uses deterministic logic. The answers it gives are provable, traceable, and completely explainable. We're talking about a jump from approximation to actual accuracy, from plausibility to provability. Now, this new architecture, called HCNV Colbert, is built on what's called a sparse matrix. And get this, it's a data structure that is almost 99.8% empty. Now, that sounds crazy and efficient, right? But it's actually the secret to its power. It's designed to only store meaningful connections, the real signal, while completely ignoring all the background noise. It's a system built to focus only on what truly matters.
And this is where you really see the holon principle just lighting up everything. A single row in this matrix, it's a complete thought, a whole semantic context, but it's also just one part of the bigger table. A column, it's a whole category of meaning, but just one of millions of dimensions. From the tiniest cell to the entire table, everything is simultaneously a whole and a part. It is literally holons all the way down.
And what happens when you build something with this kind of structural elegance? You get speed. I mean, absolutely mind-bending speed. Because the system can interact with a single token or an entire universe of knowledge using the exact same mechanism, all the old bottlenecks just vanish. Processing, tracing facts back to their source, it all happens in milliseconds. We're talking up to 20,000 times faster than older models.
So the results of designing this way are just revolutionary. You get total explainability because you can trace every answer back to its source tokens. It works across languages because the meaning is anchored. The system is robust, it's efficient, and it can learn and evolve without needing a total rewrite. And these aren't just a list of cool features, they are the natural, inevitable outcome of building with holons.
But maybe the most stunning, most profound validation for this entire approach doesn't come from a computer lab at all. It actually comes from the blueprint of life itself.
This is the part that's just so amazing. By relentlessly pursuing maximum efficiency and stability, the engineers behind this AI accidentally rediscovered the exact same design principles that nature has been using for billions of years. It wasn't copied, it was an independent discovery.
I'm talking about gene regulatory networks, GRNs. This is the control system, the software running inside every single one of your cells. And guess what? They are perfect holarchies. They use sparse, targeted connections to manage unbelievable complexity and to stay robust. A gene is a whole, but it's also part of a module. A module is a whole, but it's part of a larger pathway. It's nature's information processor, and it's built on the exact same holonic principles.
You see, this alignment isn't just a coincidence. The fact that the most efficient design for an AI happens to mirror the design nature uses to run life, well, it confirms we're not just inventing some clever new architecture here. We are discovering and finally encoding a universal pattern for how to build complex, stable things.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of profound question to chew on. If this fundamental pattern of wholes that are also parts defines everything from our own cells to our own minds, all the way to our most advanced creations, then what larger system, what grander holarchy are we all a part of?